Photoshop Spin Blur is an excellent tool for creating a circular spin effect, like emulating the rotation of a wheel or a fan, or in this case, we're going to rotate the umbrella. To add the filter as a smart filter, I'll choose Filter and then Convert for Smart Filters. That converts the layer into a smart object, and then choose Filter and Blur Gallery, and then Spin Blur. I'll zoom in once using Command+, and then zoom in again, just so that we can see the umbrella a little bit larger. Photoshop creates this default ellipse, and in the center there's a pin so I can relocate it. I can also increase the amount of blur using the dial, or I can increase it over here in the panel. In order to make this larger, I'll click on one of the dots and then drag out, and then reposition it up in the image by clicking on that pin. Now let's really cut back on the blur angle. I'm going to bring that down to somewhere around 17%. These larger dots designate the fade range, so if I move them in towards the center, we can see that the blur is being applied inside of those blue dots, but between the larger blue dots and the smaller ones, it's starting to fade. If I needed to rotate this, I could click on these small dots and then drag to rotate it. I'll use Command Z or Control Z on Windows in order to undo that. But of course, the problem is that the center of the blur isn't in the right location. And when I click and drag on the pin, it's just going to move the center. So I'll hold down the Option key and then drag the pin independently of the outside of the circle. And I'll just place it there at the top of the umbrella. But it's still not quite right. I need to make this a lot larger, so I'll click on the small dot and then drag it out, and then select that fade range and also bring it out farther. Under the Motion Effects tab, I can add a strobe. In fact, I can add multiple strobe flashes. So let's bring the strobe strength up to 100% so that we can see what's happening. And I'll bring the strobe flashes down to 2. Now it appears as if during a long exposure, we set a flash of light off and captured the stillness of the umbrella in 2 areas. We can increase the strobe flashes as well as the strobe flash duration, but as I scoot over the duration and increase the angle, the whole image is going to look like it's been blurred. So in this instance, I want to remove the strobe, so I'll bring the strobe strength back down to 0. I will want to go in and add a little bit of noise. I'll select grain and then increase the amount to add a little bit of noise in the area that's being blurred. When I like the results, I'll click OK. Photoshop will render that. And then I'll use the Smart Filter Mask. I'll tap B to select my paintbrush, make sure that I'm painting with black, and then just paint in the base or the handle of the umbrella here. And that's how you can use the spin blur in Photoshop to create realistic and creative circular spin effects.